Hello there, friends and neighbors. Thanks for coming back to my channel. This is me, Stella Hendricks, and I am back today with chapter 11 of our in-depth book review for The Girl in the Centerfold by Surrey Marsh. As always, I'm just going to be reading excerpts out of here and offering my personal opinions. I really encourage everyone to get their own copy of this book, to read it and to form your own opinions and to tell me what they are. I really would love discussion. So, chapter 11, the Playboy promotions. Oh, this one gets a little rough. Oh, we're going to be in for a rough ride this time. Late in December 1966, I went by train to New Brunswick, New Jersey to do my first Playboy promotion. I was to present a lifetime subscription to a Mr. Brown and say, "Mr. Brown, I'd like to present you with a lifetime subscription to Playboy." For the occasion, I was attired in the Playboy promotion costume, which means I looked rather like a cheerleader. The costume consisted of a pleated white skirt and a fitted black sweater. On the back of the sweater was a large white Playboy emblem and the word Playboy in 2-inch letters. A smaller emblem was emblazoned over my left breast. I was met in Brunswick by a very nice man. He was pleasant, gentlemanly, and sober as he drove me to a country club where Mr. Brown was awaiting me. Mr. Brown, it seems, was a big boss of a business empire who was resigning or retiring. A farewell party was being held for him with about 35 of his business associates present. All were men. I was the only female. The farewells had obviously been going on for some time, for Mr. Brown and his subordinates were sauced. The room reeked of alcohol. "Mr. Brown, I'm here to present you with your lifetime subscription to Playboy. Congratulations, I'm sure you'll enjoy it." Very loud cheers. I didn't know whether to cry or run, but I couldn't do either. It was my first promotion. Playboy expected me to be sweet and charming, an excellent representative of the magazine. "Miss Marsh," head reveler advanced towards me. Maybe he stumbled or lurched, but his hand landed heavily on my shoulder. It felt as if he were pulling at my sweater. "Please," the word came out half in anger, half pleading. "What's the matter?" A representative of Playboy, a walking fantasy. I had to use my head. I forced a smile. "Why, you haven't even offered me a drink." The last thing I wanted was a drink, but I had to keep control or I was dead. But this was all I could think to say. He was shocked. "That's terrible. Somebody get the little lady a drink." "Why don't you get it for me?" I smiled my sweetest. He reacted. I might just as well have asked him to my room for the night and lurched towards the bar. I sighed. I was rid of him for the moment. Somebody suggested a photograph. The posing occupied several minutes. I used the time to think. These guys were businessmen. They were husbands and fathers. They wouldn't harm me, or would they? Why hadn't Playboy warned me? Why hadn't they sent someone with me? I felt a hand around my waist. I removed it. Somebody puppied up against my fanny. I moved away. Everyone, or so it seemed, felt a compulsion to touch me somewhere and had an absolute conviction that it was their right to do so and that I wanted them to. There were fatherly pats, friendly hugs, elbow nudges, pinches, pokes, leans, and out feels. What could I do? I smiled and smiled. I kept moving. I tried to keep my back to the wall. After 4 hours of the affair, it mercifully ended and I left. I did 13 more Playboy promotions. And on my second promotion, I was in Montreal for the opening of the Playboy Club there. There were 3 of us there in our cheerleader's costume, a bunny, a girl who'd been Playmate 7 years previously, and me. I was the star attraction, for I was the current Playmate. The rest of the day and the next, I went from room to room in the club signing autographs. Everybody, it seems, had a copy of the magazine, and everybody wanted me to autograph the Centerfold picture. The next promotion was in Chicago, with no less than 6 playmates. We were costumed as space girls. We wore silver sweaters, and silver bejeweled miniskirts over our tights and silver boots. We had little silver antennae sticking out of our head and carried a flashlight in the form of a space gun. As space girls, we escorted groups of visitors through the church. I opened a clothing store in Mobile, Alabama. On March 8th, I spent 12 hours in the shoe department of Litt's department store in Philadelphia. March 31st saw me opening a motorcycle center in Hyannis, Massachusetts. April 8th, I was smiling and handing out brochures in the Playboy booth at the Hilton Hotel in New York. April 21st, I attended a fraternity party at the Columbia College of New York. The kids were afraid of me, and I didn't stay long. From Playboy's viewpoint, the promotion is simply the use of a pretty girl to sell magazines, shoes, motorcycles, or whatever, long standard practice in American advertising. But there is a significant difference between the Dodge Girl and Surrey Marsh. I had appeared nude in Playboy and therefore disreputable. The Dodge Girl is a pretty girl who is respectable. Name one major advertiser who has risked identification with playmates or nudes. Like tons of people advertise in Playboy. I'm not sure what she means by that, but okay. Yet the Playboy promotions were an important course in the education of Solveig Millenborgen. I believe that everything, while not necessarily working out for the best, serves some purpose in one's life. Doing the Playboy promotions changed me. When Playboy sent me down to New Brunswick with 35 drunks, it was like shoving me off the dock to see if I could swim. I didn't drown in Brunswick. I survived very nicely in what I would have thought of as a terrifying situation if I'd known about it in advance. I discovered too that I could survive the smirking interviews. During doing the promotions, I learned to handle myself in a variety of public situations. I learned to smile and be sweet regardless of how I felt or what I thought of the person and what he had done. I learned to walk and stand and developed pat answers for tough questions. During the time I was doing promotions for Playboy, changes were occurring in my personal life, which also contributed significantly to my education. My affair with Biff lasted about 6 months. We just came apart like a frayed string. In our case, the poetry stopped. The love notes ended. The romantic evenings turned into lengthy sessions before the boob tube. Boredom, thy name was Biff. I'm grateful for Biff. I learned a lot from him. I also consider myself lucky. I might have married him in other circumstances. If I had, a divorce would have been inevitable. I'm no Puritan about divorce, but I'm sure divorce is more complicated and expensive, both financially and emotionally, than breaking off an affair. No lawyers, no settlement. Marriage would have made it far more difficult. I'm in no great hurry to marry. All right, so yeah, I'm totally on board with Surrey/Solveig's anger about the Playboy promotions party. That is outrageous. Even at my job as a kids princess party character, I always have an assistant there with me to kind of be my bodyguard. You know, I just have this big ridiculous costume on, and I mean, usually these are children's parties, but frequently there will be adults in attendance kind of in the background. And sometimes there is, you know, somebody's rowdy, drunken uncle who's kind of heckling and kind of a little overly interested in the princess. And it's nice to have other workers at the party who are there to be your bodyguards, really kind of essentially help you pick up chairs. And, you know, kids can be difficult when you have these big poofy dresses on. So how much more so if I, in an innocent situation like that, need protection, how much more so with these girls who are going out there presenting themselves not just as sexy girls, but also as sexy girls, with these drunken guys. You guys sent her there alone? She could have been assaulted. Like, I am just horrified, and apparently that was something that went on pretty commonly, and I'm really disappointed that Playboy was not more protective of those girls, because it is completely wrong how the men treated her, and they are completely wrong to think that they can touch her because they've seen a photograph of her body before. But, you know, you have to know that we're not saying it's right, we're just saying that's the way that it is, and those girls should have been protected. I'm mad as hell. Mad as hell. Oh yeah, and her description of this kind of getting thrown off the deep end and learning how to swim, it reminds me very much of my experience in Las Vegas when I got pretty well shoved off the deep end and I found myself stripping. It was terrifying at first, and I had no experience with anything even close to that. I'd never really even dealt with really drunk people before. I think the Cowboys had drank a lot at that ranch in Wyoming that I worked at, And so I'd gotten drunk before myself, and I'd seen drunk people, but like it wasn't a thing for me. And going in there and suddenly having, you know, barely my underwear on and trying to make money off of, you know, booby dances, it was quite the experience. And some of these guys are drunk and aggressive, and oh man, it was wild times. And I wonder what it is that Suri went out of that situation pretty clearly traumatized. You know, she clearly affected her in a different way. And while I think maybe that's it. It's because in that situation, I looked at the men as the bad guys, as the scumbags. And Suri has been convinced that she is the one who is bad, that she somehow deserves this kind of treatment. I'm so anti that, 100%. So, yeah, I think she's completely justified to be angry with Playboy for the promotional kind of stuff. That's just wild. She should have been protected. And that is it for today's chapter 11. We're gonna come back and do chapter 12. I think there might be 13. Then we're gonna be done. And I have a surprise. We're gonna do another book, kind of, you know, Playboy Girls Next Door style, and it's one that most of you have not heard of before, but everyone who saw it got pretty excited. So we'll do that one when this one's over. It's gonna be the Showgirl Next Door. All right, thanks very much. I will see you guys. Actually, I'm gonna film another chapter just right after this, so, and then I'll post it the next day. So pretty soon. Catch you on the flip side.